our dependent existence is proof that there's something that always existed. Because there's something come from nothing.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Let's think about it. Nothing is the absence of everything. Can the absence of everything produce something?
I don't know. I feel like you can't necessarily say either.
But if for something to exist, it requires certain attributes, certain qualities, right?
Yep.
It can't come from zero.
Why not?
What comes from nothing? Nothing means absolute void.
What if nothing is just like a construct that we've created that makes sense?
100%. So nothing really doesn't exist. If nothing doesn't exist, then something that doesn't exist can't produce something, cannot cause something else to exist.
Okay.
Which means there always had to be something there.
Okay. I see. Logical fallacy.
Exactly. There always had to be something which brought something into existence. Otherwise, nothing that we see here will exist.
Okay. That's an interesting aspect.
That's why we say there has to be one eternal creator when all the string of dependencies actually stop.
Okay.
Right? And that eternal creator, who's one, right, indivisible, has communicated to mankind over the centuries and sent prophets and messengers and told us that he has created us and there's a certain purpose and a wisdom, a reason to live in this place. We just mentioned there has to be one that always exists. There has to be an eternal being for anything to exist. Otherwise, nothing will exist.
Can't explain like how that eternal being came to be, right? Like what was the beginning of that eternal being?
Yeah, so that's the definition of eternal, no beginning.
Okay.
Because if we gave the eternal being a beginning, now we need to find another eternal being.
What if the world is eternal?
The problem with that is the universe is dependent. Like you look at the cosmos, the sun is dependent. You look at this earth is dependent. Us, the human beings, are dependent on things to exist. So anything that is dependent cannot be eternal. You see what I'm saying? So the eternal thing has to be independent, because if once it's dependent on something, then it cannot be eternal, because as long as that something is there...
It makes it very hard to prove, because, I mean, everything has a dependency.
Exactly. And so if you keep having a string of dependencies, we're going back to the first point, if you have a string of...
If there were no humans, would the Creator still exist?
That's what eternal means. He's always there.
Okay.
Always. He's not dependent on any existence. Otherwise, if you think about it, nothing would exist.
But then you think like this person doesn't fit, like they don't have human thoughts, right? What is
well, we don't say that the creator is human or a person.
Right.
But we do say that the creator has will.
Okay.
Because if he's going to create and things exist, that requires will, right? Like for example, if you look at this book, why is this gold and not pink?
You tell me.
Someone made a decision, a choice.
Okay.
That choice reflects a decision, which reflects a will.
Okay.
So if we see that there are certain laws of the universe, you have the law of gravity, right? You have laws of physics.
Yep.
These laws are choices that are been made. They're laws, which means someone made these decisions and choices, which represents will.
Okay.
So the Creator has will, and the Creator has knowledge. That if you look at this universe that's built, it can't be built out of ignorance. It has to require knowledge. But this knowledgeable, willing Creator has communicated to mankind and said, "This is why I've created you.
Okay.
This is what I want you to do on earth. I'm your."
Muhammad.
So this is what all the prophets,
Okay.
Abraham, Moses, Jesus Christ, they all brought God's revelation, telling mankind what God wanted us to do on earth. The only issue is that those scriptures have been tampered with and lost. So God sent the last and final prophet, his prophet Muhammad, and God promised to preserve this Quran. It's called the Quran until the day of judgment. So in Birmingham, they found a manuscript of the Quran which is carbon dated back to the time of the prophet Muhammad, and it matches verse for verse. The Quran has been passed down straight through its lineage.
Can't get to him.
No, I'm listening.
You ain't had a earphone? What they call Satan in their language, the chin will be getting out into your soul.
So keep them in or keep them out? Keep them in? Okay. Okay. All right.
So, okay. Where were we? Oh, man.
Crazy people.
You get all kinds, right? So, what were, I forgot.
I don't know.
Yeah. So okay. So we're talking about So God sent every prophet a messenger, right? This is the guidance, and so it was lost and tampered with, and then the last and final prophet Muhammad, where the Quran came to as the prophet Muhammad, God promised to preserve it for the day of judgment.
Okay.
Because it makes sense. He's the last and final prophet. This is the last message. God's going to preserve it till the end of time. And so there's a manuscript which is carbon dated back to the final prophet Muhammad. And this tells you all about what God wants from us.
The Bible has been rewritten. And,
Yeah, it's like,
I don't know, their own little annotations in there.
yeah. You know how this is traced back?
Oh.
So the prophet Muhammad, when he got revelation from Angel Gabriel, he spoke the words, he had scribes write them down. That generation of scribes memorized the whole Quran.
It had to be handwritten, right?
Just memorized the whole Quran and handwritten, and then passed on to the next generation, certified. Meaning we know we have a chain of individuals going back to the prophet Muhammad. You see this guy right here, Noah? He's memorized all 6,000 plus verses of the Quran.
Whoa.
He has a chain that goes back to the prophet Muhammad. So we have not just one chain. We have thousands of chains going back to the prophet Muhammad that verify and match verse for verse.
Oh, it's tied down to this.
It's tied down. It's a science that's continuous. So we don't follow like manuscripts that are found somewhere in the cave. It has to be traced back to the prophet, right? So this has been preserved, and this is the guidance for mankind, right? So this is a message, something you can look into reading.
So if I read that, would it explain like everything you're saying?
It explains a lot. So here's our contact information, the email.
Okay.
Right? But you believe in one creator, right? There has to be an eternal being, otherwise nothing would exist. You could consider it, right?
I could consider it.
Yeah, consider it, yeah. And so if you have more questions, and read up and...
Sweet, I will. Yeah,
All right?
I'm
Pleasure.
Jake.
Shakiel.
Shakiel? Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah. Hit some
Appreciate
mints, grab some
it.
mints.
I will take some. Thank you.
Enjoy your evening.
Appreciate it. You as well.
Take care.
Have a good night. Thanks.